So I'm sure the hot topic right now is the revamped Hanzo, and many content creators have already made videos about him. That's why I'll focus on making videos about other heroes who received minor buffs. And I'll start with Uranus. Uranus. This hero is really unpopular right now, and only a few players use him. But that's exactly been my goal from the start, to post about unpopular heroes. It's just that I needed to feature popular heroes from time to time to attract more viewers and grow the community. I know this buff for Uranus is really minimal, but it's better than nothing. Stay tuned for my upcoming videos, where I'll feature other heroes who got adjustments, except for Hanabi, of course. Do you still remember when Uranus was so strong in the EXP lane that almost no hero could match what he could do? I think only Esmeralda could keep up with him back then, and it was always those two facing off in the EXP lane, even in the pro scene. Interestingly, Esmeralda also got a slight buff. The good thing about Uranus is that enemies can't see the stacks of his first skill. This is a huge advantage because as the stacks increase, the damage of his first skill also gets stronger. So if you're unaware that it's stacking, you'll definitely be surprised by how much damage it can deal. And some items that Uranus can use got buffed, like Brute Force Breastplate, Cursed Helmet, and even Radiant Armor. You know, Radiant Armor is the only good main magic defense item for him. Athena's shield doesn't suit him because Uranus's playstyle requires him to always have stacks of his passive. That's why Athena's shield is incompatible. Although you can still build it if you don't want to get bursted by the enemy mage, it's just not compatible. And yeah, I just mentioned in my video a few days ago that heroes have higher base and growth physical defense compared to their magic defense. What's crazy is that this is exactly what got buffed for some heroes now. Some heroes had their base or growth physical defense increased. Base physical defense for Barats and Uranus, and physical defense growth for Esmeralda and Baxia. That's why magic damage heroes seem stronger, because this is one of the reasons. Here's the item build I used in this game. I just tried the newly adjusted items on him, and they were effective, at least in this match. Uranus is good to use if the enemy team doesn't have hard CC and high burst damage, because if you can't burst Uranus right away, his HP just keeps regenerating. Here's the emblem and battle spell I used for him. It's important to use the common emblem because his skills consume a lot of mana. Plus, it also boosts Uranus's HP regen. I chose Impure Rage for extra mana when its effect activates, and for additional damage since Uranus doesn't deal much damage, especially without stacks. As for the battle spell, I find Revitalize the best fit for him most of the time, but there are situations where Vengeance or Purify can also work. Still, Revitalize is usually the best choice for him. Actually, I didn't go back to base even once in this game, thanks to the common emblem and Uranus's passive. That's why he's still somewhat viable right now with the common emblem. If you use a different emblem, his mana drains too fast, and you'll have to build a enchanted talisman, just to sustain it. That means you're already sacrificing one item slot. But if you're aiming for cooldown reduction, CDR, then it's still a good choice. Yeah, if you build Enchanted Talisman first, Uranus becomes too squishy and can easily get bursted. He's not the same Uranus that used to dominate and outlast almost anyone. Compared to before, he's much weaker now. Gone are the days when he could cut minion waves all the way to the enemy base just 2 minutes into the game. That's actually why I became an EXP laner, because back then, EXP lane heroes were the ones carrying games. The most overpowered heroes were in the EXP lane. But now, it feels like EXP laners are just playing a support role, while gold laners and junglers are the real powerhouses. It's like the whole team relies on them now. I wouldn't say Uranus is meta right now, but he's still very usable and strong in certain scenarios. If you're planning to use him, I'd suggest making sure your team has crowd control. Like in this match, we had teammates with CC, Sicilian. Guinevere was our main crowd control. Plus, Suyu's first skill and Sicilian's second skill also helped a lot, even though their CC effects don't last that long. And Uranus is a bit harder to use now, because of the life-bane items that are also part of the meta, and are almost always built. Just one item is enough to reduce Uranus's power by almost half. But thankfully, the heroes I faced in this match don't usually build life-bane items. But what do you think? How big of a buff did Cursed Helmet get? Is it enough to make tanky heroes build it more often? And which heroes do you think would benefit the most from this item? Comment down below, and I'll read your thoughts. I also want to try this item on other heroes. At this part, I ran out of mana, but I still won't go back to base because it regenerates anyway thanks to the common emblem. Uranus may not be that strong in team fights since he lacks crowd control or even a support ability for his team like Hylos' ultimate. However, as long as you use him properly, he can still be effective. Once he gets ahead of his opponents, he becomes incredibly hard to kill. That's really his main role, to absorb enemy damage and bait out their skills. So, you need to be good at weaving in and out of fights. Here, Guinevere chatted that she was going to set up a play in mid. I waited for her, and she actually managed to set up on 3 enemies, specifically those without Purify, so we were able to wipe them out. At this point, I was only ahead by a little over 1,000 gold, but the enemies still struggled to take me down. This is the advantage of not needing to build Enchanted Talisman and going straight for defense items. Even with a full tank build, Uranus can still deal decent damage thanks to his stacking first skill and Impure Rage. On top of that, his items contribute to his damage too. Brute Force Breastplate provides adaptive damage as it stacks, and the newly adjusted Cursed Helmet now has stacking effects as well. All of these make perfect sense for Uranus, a hero built entirely around stacking. You can also build Thunderbelt if you want. In fact, I'm planning to try it on Uranus soon. I was just really curious about these newly adjusted items. I've also seen comments about how high their Thunderbelt stacks have gotten, so it's definitely something worth testing. Can you see the stacks of my first skill on enemies? The thing is, they can't see it, so they have no idea how many stacks I've built up on them. I feel like not many people know this, since Uranus isn't a popular pick. Even if you've used him before, you might not have realized that the enemy can't see your stacks. At this point, no one can burst me down alone. Not even 2 enemies, I think. They need to work together to take me down, or I have to be deep inside their turret for them to have a chance. What's even more satisfying is that even if they manage to get my HP low, which they struggle to do, I just step away from the fight for a few seconds, and within 3 seconds my health is full again. So there you have it. Even though Uranus didn't get back his old level of tankiness, he can still hold his ground against meta heroes. What do you think? Is Uranus worth using now? Or do you feel like the buffs weren't enough? Comment down below and I'll make sure to read your thoughts.